Morning, Gerard. How are you today?
I'm good, Peter. How's yourself?
Gerard, I am fantastic. Storm Agnes is raging in the background, but I am absolutely fantastic. So, Gerard, thanks very much for taking part in the Business Spotlight. It's very generous of you to share your time today. So, could we start? Could you tell me a little about yourself and your organization, and a bit about your how you got there?
Mhm. Certainly, Peter. My current role is I'm the chief executive of the Northern Ireland Football League, NIFL for short, as we like to call it. So our organisation is that we are the leading league in football in Northern Ireland. So we look after the elite game within Northern Ireland in league football. And it's our job really is to lead, promote, and deliver the professional game in Northern Ireland. So I suppose for me, I've had a long background in football and in business. So it's my dream job as a massive sort of Irish League follower of football my whole life. To now lead the organisation is phenomenal. And I suppose I often describe it that we have 49 clubs that we run throughout the men and the women's game. So we do. So we look after the top three divisions of men's football in Northern Ireland and the women's premiership also, which is a massive growth after Northern Ireland the Euro. So yeah, so my background, Peter, I'm 48 now. I'm married, I have two kids. My background is a bit of a checkered, and it's almost a double journey in that leaving school of a long time ago, and it is now, I fell in by chance into the catering industry for a period of time, and I was a chef for 17 years. So I was, and through that I started at the bottom and peeling carrots and potatoes and sort of rose. I was very lucky in that I fell into the right company. And I worked for Botanic Inns, who were just very much when Jazz Mooney was in the height of the industry in Belfast, but they were all about developing people. And if I hadn't worked for that company, I think my career would have went in a different direction. And I don't know what that is, but it was very much they believed in me, they invested in me, and that brought me from the chef almost into the management role. That led me then to a role in the Grand Opera House, where I originally went in as the kitchen manager. And after 15 years, I left it as the head of customer service, which I was responsible for the whole front of house operation. And anyone that ever gets an opportunity to work in theatre, I would highly recommend. And alongside those roles throughout my life, I've a football background in that I became involved at a very early age with my local club, Cliftonville. So I always had an Irish League background and was involved. And I was a director of Cliftonville for the guts of 20 years. I became chairman of Cliftonville when I was 34 or so. So I spent 12 years as the chairman of Cliftonville, and that was a unique journey for me also in that I took on a club that was basically on its knees. I didn't know it at the time, or I wouldn't have did it, but it was probably £1.5 million of debt, no future, lying at the bottom of the league, fighting relegation each year. And myself and another group of very willing volunteers transformed that club into winning 2 league titles and playing in the Champions League. And when I left them 2 years ago, they'd no debt, 100,000 in the bank, and they were top of the league. So that was a great experience, and really that was a great journey for me. And football offers a lot of opportunity for people to really express, you learn qualities when your back's to the wall. So I was able to come from two backgrounds, and then this job became available 2 years ago. I'm just about 2 years in post, and the league formerly had an MD. They were looking to go on forward, so they were appointing their first chief executive. And to be honest, a number of the clubs had approached me, and friends of clubs have been like, "You'd be brilliant at that. Why don't you go for it?" And I'm like, "No, I'm a Cliftonville man. It'll never happen." And one story, I got a phone call from a recruitment agency. They said, "Would you come and talk to us?" I went to 2 interviews. I think I was actually late for the second one, only a couple of moments. but I was very relaxed. I didn't think anything was going to come off it. I thought they're ticking a box. I came in, and then I got the shock of being offered the job, which for me was, I'm giving up my career, I'm giving up my involvement in Cliftonville. What do I do? And I had to put the big boy pants on really at that stage and make one of the toughest decisions of my life. And thank goodness, 2 years later, I sit, and you can't see it. I have a lovely office overlooking the National Stadium here at Windsor Park. So while we have the rain today, I'm looking at a lovely football pitch, and I haven't looked back, and it was the best decision I ever made of my life, Peter. And long may it continue. Rocky roads, yes, of course. There's always stuff in football, and you learn skills, and you have to draw on skills that you never thought you would have to. But as I say, I've 40 odd clubs now that I have to manage, help run, support, and you become a support mechanism. But like any parent, you also have to punish at times. So we've learned that. But thank God, 2 years later, never looked back, and the best decision I ever made.
Fantastic. What a great story. And so tell me, what would you say along your journey, what would you say have been your biggest learnings, both, I guess, in business and in life?
I suppose for me, in a way, it's always have integrity. Being open and be honest with people, because we all like to spin things, but we always call it out. So I think be transparent, be open, listen. Listen, and I suppose from my management perspective of it is always treat staff well, and valuable staff. Don't ever underestimate good staff, because a business is nothing. And I've made mistakes in the past. You know, I came through that younger area of my life was when I was a chef, and you know, the television shows of Gordon Ramsay throwing plates and throwing things. I lived through that era, and I look back now and cringe at times. But as I've matured as a person, and hopefully as a manager, definitely treat people right. And I think 99.9% of the stage, people will give you reward, and they'll give you loyalty that is unplayable at the end of the day. So that's really where I would be.
And do you have any favorite quotes or sayings that particularly resonate with you?
I'm always told that I start most conversations with saying, I'm not having a go, but it's something I get reminded of an awful lot in my life. And I use the word ultimately in every conversation. So I suppose I heard something lately which is so true. You know, you stand still, people are going to bypass you. So if you really want to progress, you've got to take chances. You've got to go with your gut. So yeah, I mean, look, there's millions of them out there, but I always, when I'm having a go, I always start a conversation, and I don't mean to have a go, but it's just to be honest and frank with people, and let people know where you stand with you, and I think that stands anyone in good stead.
Very good. And tell me, who's the first person that comes to mind when you think of the word success?
That's a tough one you're throwing. I mean, Steve Jobs is definitely one that I would think of when you look at where Apple are and what Apple has in our lives. So from a business perspective and what he is growing, definitely he would be the one that jumps out at me. I don't do politics, but I always have great admiration for what Nelson Mandela did, and where he came from, and where his life took him to, and what he achieved. So I would have great admiration as a person, as a leader, and how you bring people on that difficult journey. And that's something that I'm working through myself at the moment, and how to change organizations. But I think when you look at Apple, it's hard to see anything that's bigger and more branded in the world at this moment in time.
Yeah, as soon as you said Steve Jobs, it reminded me of one of my favorite quotes about Steve Jobs was that he said, you know, we don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. And I thought that was him. That was him in a nutshell. Yeah, really cool.
And I think you have to be, you know, like I have a great team here, but I don't have all the answers. I mean, I constantly depend on them, and that's why I think if people feel valued, they'll give you so much back in the organization.
And what have you learned about yourself? You know, if you think from sort of back clanging, throwing pots and pans about botanic ends, all the way up to sitting looking out over the National Stadium. I mean, what have you learned about yourself along the way?
Have thick skinned. Don't take things personally. You know, I think people and I've had lots of experiences where, you know, people will criticize an organization or something, and you think that's somebody having to go at me. It's not. They're creating a culture. You know, it's not you, the person. Like, I mean, I get a lot. I had a story in the press yesterday, and I had to turn my Twitter off at one stage. It was bleeping, and there are people just opinions, and you think you can't take that personally. And it's trying to decipher the people, and not just take out the message you want to hear. You almost need a balance in the message also. But yeah, definitely for me over the years is, as like I said earlier, be honest, be upfront. Don't take things personally, and, you know, try to work with people. Always try to find a solution. I mean, I think there's so much, we could be at different sides of the spectrum, but is there a middle ground? If I move a little, can you move a little? And always try to find solutions.
And what's you've been in your current role then for 2 years now, did you say?
Yeah.
What's been the biggest challenge you've faced in those 2 years?
Without doubt, change. I mean, I've come into an organization that was on growth before I arrived. So it was in growth. Some of our clubs most definitely would like to be, oh, we've grown, we've made it, we're happy. A group of our clubs want to project even further. So trying to bring everybody, and especially in our Premier League, we have 12 clubs in the Premier League. So I have a big challenge that we can't stop the big getting bigger, and we can't leave the smaller behind. We need to take everyone on the journey and doing things differently. This last week, we released a new 5-year strategy. So one of the things that I did, well, by chance, when I joined the organization, I asked the question of what is NIFL? What was, because we used to do, you know, we did boys football, we did girls football, we did elite football. We were people pleasers. And I think really, what is it we want to be? How and what do we want to be? So we have actually just last week released, and I'll plug this, our new strategy, which is a bold and brighter future for professional football. And we have developed a vision, a mission, we have objectives. So the biggest challenge, to answer your question, is trying to get people to buy into this. We're asking people to soul search a lot, and to look at changes of season, how we do things. One of the things, I mean, the story yesterday was, I'm saying Boxing Day is the biggest day in the Irish League calendar. And I'm saying if we change a season, we may need to give up Boxing Day. And I felt like the man who cancelled Christmas yesterday. I never realised there were so many people want to stand on a cold, wet winter's day at a football ground on the 26th of December. So there's change, but definitely getting people to think outside the box and getting them to think in a different way, and trying to bring a group of people forward together, because there's a lot of self-interest, and rightly so, within the club. So the clubs will be, here's our club and this is what we want to do, but I'm trying to bring a group of people all together and have a piece of a cake for everyone. And that, without doubt, is the biggest challenge that I face on a daily basis, because what's brilliant for someone will be equally disastrous for another. And it's trying to sell that to people, Peter.
And what would you say to anyone that's thinking of going into business, thinking of embarking on a business journey?
Trust your gut. I would always think, and don't be afraid to take calculated risks. You know, I've taken a number, and especially in football days at Cliftonville, you know, take the risks, weigh it up, analyze it, look at the pros and cons, and if you really believe in it, take the leap of faith. Trust what your gut's telling you to do, and if you've weighed it up and you believe in it that much, go for it, because if not, you'll always regret it.
Great advice. And if you started your career again, what would you do differently, if anything?
Oh, there's lots of mistakes. I think, in all seriousness, I mean, I would try to get my message across in a softer manner. I'm known to be quite, here's what it is, this is the message. So try and only lately in latter years, maybe as I've matured and I've changed roles, is bring people on the journey with you, get their buy-in earlier, sell the benefits to them. But definitely for me, the mistakes I've made is probably being you know, here's the way it is and this is what I want to do, but take other people's feelings in and their perspectives in and deliver a message softer is a personal attribute that I would have to work on.
Okay, so if you mentioned the 5-year strategy. So I've got great news for you. That's going to work a treat. So all that's going to happen exactly as you intended. So tell me, in 2028, what does the Northern Irish Football League look like then?
If it works as we said, it'll be a completely new, unique setup and season. So we play a traditional football season for some of your viewers that don't understand or know football. So we would technically play August to end of June, or sorry, end of May, start middle of May, depending on playoffs. So we would play them. We're looking at transforming our season and maybe starting in May and running to the end of February. So we would, and that gives us much more business opportunities. The rationale, we're playing football in 3 months of the summer. We're trying to get people out on summer nights to watch football as opposed to, so change of season implemented. The biggest challenge would be that we're a full-time professional league. So at the moment, out of our Premier League, we have 12 clubs, as I said. 4 of those are full-time professional clubs. And I would like, the idea is that we get all 12 to be fully professional and full-time. That'll grow the league further and give a much better standard. We want to build reserves and have security as an organisation. We've almost had a non-for-profit model, and we divvied up any access each year to clubs. We need to build models to support. And the big challenge for me, and the one thing that will really, in 5 years, is our stadia. A lot of grounds are no longer fit for purpose. We had money 12 years ago as part of a government scheme to invest in football stadia in Northern Ireland. And that was 36 million that was going to have major impact in the game. 36 million 12 years later is not 36 million in a year. So I need to entice government and try to get more investment into the clubs, more investment into the grounds, but have fit for purpose modern day stadia within Northern Ireland football. And I think that will open up so many opportunities to our clubs, that they're centres of their communities. Those grounds are community hubs. They're just not white elephants. And I think that will grow the game around corporate facilities and bringing people into games. So if I can achieve that in 5 years, I'll do quite happy and see where the life takes me after that.
Superb. Well, Gerard Lawlor, thank you very much indeed for sharing your story and indeed giving some insights into the Northern Irish Football League and where it is now and where it's heading. It's been absolutely great to be able to talk about football, and one of these has been superb. So thanks very much indeed. I wish you and the organisation all the success for the future, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Peter. Pleasure.